not watch this movie in
fantastic.
3D. Was that confusing? Was that like bizarre because you're used to a certain type of language when it comes to these videos, and all of a sudden having to choose which thing to do when you can't rewind and figure out what's going on is a little bit of it like that was okay. Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm going to tell you my feelings on the movie, but you don't get to see my eyes because that would help you understand me. There's a lot to nonverbal communication that underscores it, and I think it's fair to have this weird 3D filter when I'm trying to explain to you the way that I feel about this movie. So, guess which version I paid to go see? Avatar in 2009 was big, and it was something special because I had not seen a billion 3D movies be pumped out, and I hadn't seen special effects on the level that they had with motion capture. Avatar: The Way of Water is using technology that has been seen before and almost caught up to by competitors, and it still does look a little head above everything else, and the movie is spectacular. But James Cameron is standing in his own way and wasting years and energy and resources on the movie that could be better spent on the things that he cares about that had come across so clear in his movie. Avatar: The Way of Water is really the story, if you're gonna string one thing together, of Stephen Lang's character, that Colonel's revenge for his death in Avatar 2009. So you have Jake Sully and his family aware that he's alive, aware that danger's coming, and they make a choice, and that choice leads them to learn more about the world they live on and grow a deeper understanding and respect for the natives and culture where they live. And we get to see that through their eyes. So there are highs and lows to this, but this definitely feels like the next huge blockbuster event thing. There obviously have been sequels in the works with this. I don't know how far they're going to space them apart. Supposedly it's every 2 years, but I'm pretty sure they've been saying that pre-COVID. So everything that works in this movie, because it is 3 hours and 10 minutes long, gives you a complete movie about a family's response to revenge. A few family members in particular growing to develop more skills and connection to the planet, to Pandora. So with that complete movie, that is a ride worth going through the 3 hours for, in my opinion. The problems is that if you are not following those few characters, if you're paying attention to just, characters from the original, or you care about certain threads, like with Sigourney Weaver's character, nothing is going to happen in this movie. We're back to the stage of everyone knew there was going to be sequels, so they feel comfortable with leaving threads unfinished. There are certain things that feel obvious. I'm just going to say for Sigourney Weaver in particular, there's a setup that feels so hardcore foreshadowed that I would be rolling my eyes if it weren't for the fact that that payoff does not come in this movie, whatever it is. You have 3 natural-born children of Jake Sully, and you have 2 foster children, essentially, of Jake Sully and Neytiri, Zoe Saldana's character. Only 2 of these characters, 2.5 because of Sigourney Weaver's character, actually have a story in this. One that I really enjoyed, but that's what you're working with. You're working with a team, and you're only really focusing on a part of that team. And because of that, by the time the movie needs to take a turn and bring it back to being Jake Sully's story, you've spent 2 hours where Jake has made one decision, and that's for his family to run and save themselves. And it's not until the very end of the movie that he takes charge as the protagonist and sidelines the character who has sort of been focused on. I'm not upset with the way that it worked, because I think it functions very well as a sequel to the first one, but this definitely is an unfinished story, and luckily there's enough talent and blockbuster explosions and show-offs and special effects and wonder in the movie that you can enjoy it for what it is. Not every movie has to, be perfect if it's moving you with the images and sounds that it has. You have outstanding music, but I could not hum a single theme to you, but you don't have to hum a single theme. But There you go. Fun fact, my wife and I were talking after the movie and pointing out how, like, Star Trek, for example, canceled after 3 seasons, revived in 1 movie, but supercharged after the 2nd movie. Star Wars comes out, it's a really huge movie, saved in editing by a lot of accounts, and it really blows up kind of immediately, kind of like Avatar did. But then The Empire Strikes Back made it what it really is today. And I'm not saying this is like the next of that or anything, but I'm saying this is to Avatar what that is. I feel like this is the big movie that's going to make a lot of people go, oh yeah, there's definitely plenty to enjoy here. This makes me appreciate the first one a little bit more, and it gets a little bit big. Now, just don't buy into the 3D, and if they admit it to you, don't watch it in 48 frames per second. I was watching this, and there's a thing about film language. There's a thing about, we watch movies and we understand what certain things mean because we watch movies. We understand that when something goes into slow motion, that means it's supposed to be important, or it's supposed to hold weight, or it's supposed to build tension. We understand that when, well, I'll just get to it. When the shutter speed of a camera increases, and the motion blur decreases, that there is supposed to be intensity in an image, that we're supposed to feel, invigorated. The problem is, every scene where there seems like there would be an increased shutter speed, they crank the frames per second up to either 48 frames per second or higher, I'm not sure. The reason I'm thinking higher is because the number I'm thinking in my head is 120. People binge stream games now. They follow people on Twitch. People who aren't gamers have regularly, easily accessed 120 hertz content, high frame rate video games in their eyeballs on a daily basis. This movie in 3D, 60% of it minimum looked like a video game. And for a movie that is priding itself on how its visuals are able to come from nothing in a warehouse and become this believable, fleshed out world, to have everything suddenly speed up and feel like the cutscene of a video game hardcore destroys any suspension of disbelief for me. The thing about 3D is that I noticed that what I would do is I would close one eye every once in a while in the movie to see what the image looked like in 2D. And a lot of times, I would start paying attention to things on the screen that I wasn't paying attention to. Because when one object moves on screen, I'm going to pay more attention to that than I am going to pay attention to the still images. And when something is in 3D and I have to adjust in my head my focus around a cube instead of on a flat screen, it's going to be harder for me to pull in details. And I think James Cameron and team are seeing this rendered and working with this movie in post-production for 10 years, seeing the movie as it is. For a person who's only going to spend this amount of money once to see this movie in this format, 3 hours wasn't enough time for my eyes to adjust to it. I don't get the hype around the technology, the idea that you have to push something to be seen in a way you haven't seen it before. It's not the most original movie in the world. It has recognizable characters and tropes, things from the most recent Planet of the Apes series, things pulled from other movies that James Cameron has made before. But really, the biggest issue I have with the movie is they prioritize the way that it's made over making a movie that's going to move people and drive people to want to do something to address the topics that it deals with. Man's relationship with Earth, animal sensitivity, and us learning that whales in real life have possibly a more intense capacity for emotion. There are so many hard-hitting moments. Why you gotta blunt them? But hey, it's Avatar 2. It's the Avatar 2 of movies. Go see it. Just go see it in 2D. Don't worry about going to see anything in credits. I fully expected, since they were filming all these at the same time, to see an Avatar 3 trailer at the end. But nope, I don't think that's the way they're doing it. I think they're playing things so that they can roll things out as they need to. It felt really clear that this movie was pieced together as they were building the story. The performances, as far as I can tell from a first way around, is interesting, but I am definitely going to watch this again one day when I have 3 hours, which is a joke. But I am going to, and hopefully it gets a physical media release. I know Avatar is supposed to get a physical media release. A 4K one, sorry. And so just get ready to see a bunch of snap zooms and just get ready for a bunch.